Ladies and gentlemen, every action, every decision, every success or failure in life begins in one place, your mind. The thoughts you entertain today will shape the person you become tomorrow. If we want to change our lives, we must first change the way we think. Your mind is the control center of your life. Everything you do, every decision you make, and every emotion you feel is shaped by the thoughts you allow to take root in your mind. If your thoughts are filled with doubt, fear, and negativity, your actions will reflect that. But if your mind is focused on faith, confidence, and purpose, your life will follow a completely different path. The way you think determines the way you live. Too often people underestimate the power of their thoughts. They assume that their circumstances shape their lives, but in reality it is their response to those circumstances, the way they think about them, that truly determines the outcome. Two people can go through the exact same challenge, yet one may rise above it while the other crumbles under its weight. What makes the difference? It is not external circumstances, but the internal dialogue they allow to dominate their minds. If you believe that you are powerless, that life is against you, or that you will never succeed, then you will begin to act in ways that make those beliefs a reality. But when you train your mind to see possibilities, to recognize opportunities, and to believe in something greater than your current struggles, you will find the strength to overcome even the toughest obstacles. Your thoughts shape your actions, and your actions shape your future. The human mind is constantly processing information. Every day we are bombarded with messages from the world around us, through social media, television, conversations, and personal experience. Many of these messages shape the way we see ourselves and the world. Some of these influences are uplifting, encouraging us to grow and improve. Others, however, are negative, filling our minds with fear, self-doubt, and discouragement. If we do not take control of our thoughts, we risk allowing harmful ideas to take root, affecting our confidence and direction in life. Consider how a small seed grows into a mighty tree. If you plant a healthy seed in good soil, it will grow strong and bear fruit. But if you plant a bad seed, or if you neglect the soil and allow weeds to take over, the tree will struggle or even die. The same principle applies to your thoughts. If you allow negative, harmful, or destructive thoughts to take root, they will grow and influence every part of your life. But if you choose to nurture thoughts of strength, truth, and wisdom, you will build a foundation for success and peace. One of the greatest challenges people face is breaking free from negative thought patterns. Many have spent years thinking a certain way, believing lies about themselves, their abilities, and their future. But just as bad habits can be broken, negative thought patterns can be changed. It begins with awareness, recognizing the thoughts that are holding you back. Once you become aware of them, you can challenge them, replace them, and build new patterns of thinking that align with your true potential. Your thoughts are not beyond your control. You have the ability to choose what you focus on. When negative thoughts arise, you do not have to accept them as truth. Instead, you can challenge them with reality, with wisdom, and with faith. You can shift your focus from fear to courage, from doubt to confidence, from despair to hope. The more you practice taking control of your thoughts, the stronger your mind becomes. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your life. The way you think shapes your attitude, your choices, and your future. If you want to change your life, start by changing your thoughts. Fill your mind with what is good, true, and uplifting. Reject the lies that hold you back, and embrace the thoughts that lead to growth. Your mind is powerful, and when you train it to think rightly, there is no limit to what you can achieve. The human mind is one of the most powerful tools ever created. It has the ability to imagine, create, and solve problems, yet many people do not realize that their thoughts can be trained and shaped just as like a muscle. Just as an athlete must train his body to become stronger and more disciplined, a person must train their mind to think in ways that bring clarity, confidence, and purpose. Without discipline, the mind can wander into fear, doubt, and negativity, but with the right training, it can be transformed into a source of strength and resilience. Many people believe that thoughts are random and uncontrollable. They assume that whatever enters their mind is simply the way it is, and they have no power over it. This could not be further from the truth. Just as a person chooses what food to eat or what clothes to wear, they can also choose what thoughts to dwell on. The brain is constantly receiving information, but it is up to the individual to decide what to focus on and what to let go of. The key is to recognize unhealthy thoughts and replace them with ones that bring growth and direction. One of the most effective ways to train the mind is through repetition. When an athlete trains, they practice the same motions over and over again until they become second nature. The same applies to thoughts. If a person constantly focuses on their weaknesses, failures, or fears, those thoughts become deeply rooted in their mind. However, if they repeatedly focus on truth, possibility, and hope, those thoughts begin to take over instead. The more thought is reinforced, the stronger it becomes. Another important aspect of training the mind is learning to challenge negative thinking. People often accept their thoughts as truth without questioning them. For example, someone might think, "I'm not good enough," or "I will never succeed." These thoughts feel real, but that does not mean they are true. When faced with such thoughts, it is crucial to ask, is this really true? More often than not, these negative beliefs have no real foundation. They are simply old fears or past experiences that no longer apply to the present. By challenging these thoughts, a person can replace them with statements that reflect reality, such as "I am capable," or "I have the ability to grow and improve." Training the mind also requires discipline in what is allowed to enter it. Just as a healthy diet is important for physical strength, a healthy mental diet is necessary for a strong mind. If a person constantly consumes negativity, whether through social media, news, or negative influences, their thoughts will naturally lean toward anxiety and fear. However, if they choose to surround themselves with wisdom, encouragement, and truth, their thoughts will begin to reflect that. It is essential to be mindful of what is allowed into the mind, because those inputs shape thinking patterns over time. Another key to training the mind is practicing gratitude and positive thinking. Instead of focusing on what is wrong, a person can choose to focus on what is good. Studies have shown that people who actively practice gratitude experience higher levels of happiness and mental well-being. This is because the mind begins to recognize and appreciate the positive aspects of life rather than dwelling on the negative. This simple shift in thinking can change one's entire perspective, leading to greater joy and fulfillment. Training the mind is not something that happens overnight. Just as building physical strength requires consistent effort, developing a strong and disciplined mind takes time and practice. However, the rewards are incredible. A trained mind leads to better decisions, greater resilience in difficult situations, and a sense of purpose and direction in life. Those who commit to strengthening their thoughts will find themselves more confident, more focused, and better prepared to face the challenges that come their way. Ultimately, every person has the power to train their mind. It begins with a decision to be intentional about what thoughts are allowed to take root. It requires discipline, repetition, and a willingness to challenge old patterns of thinking. But for those who commit to the process, the transformation is life-changing. A trained mind is not only stronger, but also more peaceful, more focused, and more capable of achieving great things. The human mind is constantly absorbing information, whether we realize it or not. Every conversation we have, Every piece of media we consume and every environment we immerse ourselves in shapes the way we think. Just like a garden, our minds will grow whatever we plant in them. If we fill our minds with wisdom, truth, and encouragement, they will flourish with strong and positive thoughts. However, if we allow negativity, fear, and destructive influences to take root, they will spread like weeds, choking out clarity, peace, and confidence. This is why it is crucial to guard against negative influences and be intentional about what we allow into our minds. Negative influences can come from many sources. They may be the voices of people around us, friends, family members, or colleagues who constantly speak doubt, discouragement, or criticism. They can also come from the media we consume. Much of today's news, entertainment, and social media is filled with messages that promote fear, anger, and comparison. Without realizing it, a person can begin to adopt these messages as their own, leading to anxiety, insecurity, and a distorted view of reality. One of the most dangerous effects of negative influences is that they shape our self-perception. If a person is constantly surrounded by voices telling them they are not good enough, they will eventually start to believe it. If they are bombarded with images that tell them they don't measure up, they will begin to see themselves as inadequate. This is why it is so important to guard the mind against toxic influences and instead surround it with truth, encouragement, and positivity. Guarding against negative influences does not mean ignoring reality or avoiding difficult truths. Instead, it means being wise about what we allow to take root in our thoughts. There is a difference between being informed and being consumed by negativity. A person can stay aware of the world's challenges without letting fear and hopelessness dominate their thinking. Similarly, they can receive constructive criticism without allowing self-doubt and insecurity to take control. The key is to filter the information coming in and determine whether it is helping or harming their mental and emotional well-being. One practical way to guard the mind is by being selective about media consumption. If watching the news leaves a person feeling overwhelmed with fear, they can choose to limit their exposure or seek sources that present information in a balanced and constructive way. If scrolling through social media leads to comparison and dissatisfaction, they can unfollow accounts that create negative emotions and instead follow those that inspire and uplift. Small choices like these make a significant difference in shaping the way a person thinks and feels. Another important way to protect the mind is by surrounding oneself with positive and encouraging people. The people we spend time with influence us more than we realize. If we are constantly around those who complain, criticize, or bring others down, their mindset will begin to affect us. But if we choose to surround ourselves with people who are hopeful, wise, and supportive, we will be encouraged to think in the same way. Seeking out friendships and mentors who inspire a growth and confidence can be one of the most powerful ways to protect the mind from negativity. It is also essential to develop habits that strengthen the mind and reinforce positive thinking. Reading books that challenge and inspire, listening to speakers who encourage and uplift, and spending time in reflection and meditation can all help to keep the mind focused on what is true and good. Even simple practices such as keeping a gratitude journal or speaking words of affirmation to oneself can help to counteract the effects of negative influences. Ultimately, guarding against negative influences is about taking responsibility for what we allow into our minds. No one else can do this for us. It is a personal choice that must be made daily. The thoughts we entertain today will shape the person we become tomorrow. By choosing to protect our minds from negativity and instead fill them with truth, wisdom, and encouragement, we set ourselves on a path toward confidence, peace, and a strong, unshakable mindset. The mind is like a battlefield where thoughts are constantly waging war. Some thoughts bring peace, confidence, and strength, while others create fear, doubt, and confusion. In order to live a fulfilled and purposeful life, a person must learn the art of renewing their mind daily. Just as the body needs food, exercise, and rest to stay strong, the mind needs regular renewal to stay healthy, clear, and focused. Without this renewal, negative thoughts and destructive patterns can take hold, leading to stress, anxiety, and a sense of being lost. But with intentional effort, the mind can be refreshed, strengthened, and redirected toward growth and wisdom. One of the greatest challenges people face is the tendency to dwell on past mistakes, failures, and regrets. The mind has a way of replaying painful moments, making it difficult to move forward. However, true mental renewal comes when a person learns to let go of what cannot be changed and instead focuses on what can be improved. Holding on to the past keeps the mind trapped in a cycle of negativity, but choosing to shift focus toward the future allows for growth and transformation. Each new day is an opportunity to start fresh, to learn from past experiences, and to apply those lessons in a positive way. Renewing the mind requires replacing harmful thought patterns with thoughts that bring life and strength. This is not something that happens automatically. It requires effort and discipline. Just as a person must be intentional about exercising their body to stay physically fit, they must also be intentional about exercising their mind to keep it strong. If negative thoughts of fear and doubt are left unchecked, they will grow and take control. But if they are actively replaced with thoughts of hope, confidence, and purpose, the mind will begin to change for the better. A powerful way to renew the mind is through reflection and meditation. Taking time each day to pause, clear the mind, and focus on positive truths can have a significant impact. Many people live their lives in a constant rush, moving from one task to another, without ever stopping to think about the direction they're heading. But those who take even a few moments each day to reflect on their thoughts, to remind themselves of their purpose, and to focus on gratitude, will find that their minds become clearer, their stress levels decrease, and their outlook on life improves. Another key to mental renewal is feeding the mind with the right information. Just as the body needs nutritious food to stay healthy, the mind needs uplifting, truthful, and encouraging information to stay strong. Reading books that challenge and inspire, listening to messages that bring wisdom and perspective, and engaging in conversations that build rather than tear down, all contribute to a renewed mind. On the other hand, if the mind is constantly fed with negative news, toxic social media, and harmful influences, it will begin to reflect those inputs. Being mindful of what enters the mind is one of the most important steps in keeping it renewed. Developing a habit of gratitude is another powerful way to refresh the mind. When a person actively focuses on what they are thankful for, their perspective shifts. Instead of constantly seeing what is wrong, they begin to recognize what is right. Gratitude has the power to transform the way a person thinks and feels. It reduces stress, increases joy, and creates a mindset of abundance rather than lack. A person who makes gratitude a daily practice will find that their mind becomes stronger, more resilient, and more focused on the good things in life. Renewing the mind is not a one-time event. It is a daily practice. The world is filled with distractions, negativity, and pressures that can weigh down the mind. That is why it is so important to take time every day to reset, refocus, and fill the mind with thoughts that lead to peace, strength, and purpose. Those who commit to this practice will find that they are more confident, more capable of handling challenges, and more in control of their lives. A renewed mind is a powerful mind, and with it, a person can rise above any obstacle and move forward with clarity and direction. In the journey of life, the thoughts we allow to take root in our minds determine the direction we go. Our minds shape our actions, our emotions, and ultimately, our future. But the good news is that we are not powerless. Our thoughts can be trained, our minds can be renewed, and we can take control of what influences us. When we guard against negativity, we protect ourselves from fear, doubt, and discouragement. When we feed our minds with wisdom, truth, and encouragement, and when we commit to daily renewal, we free ourselves from past mistakes, develop a mindset of gratitude, and embrace the future with purpose and strength. Taking control of your thoughts is not just about thinking positively. It is about creating a disciplined mind that is focused, resilient, and filled with wisdom. It is about choosing what to dwell on, rejecting what holds you back, and embracing the thoughts that lead you forward. The mind is a powerful tool, and you have the ability to shape it. You are not a prisoner of your thoughts. You are the master of them. And when you take control of your mind, you take control of your life. The choice is yours. Choose thoughts that build, strengthen, and uplift, and watch how your life transforms for the better.